Well, today's story is from the point of view of another animal from the time of the Christmas story when Jesus was first born. I wonder if you can guess what animal it could be.
Lamb.
I think you're probably right. Hello. I'm so glad you're all here. You must have come to see the baby. He's sleeping right now. I can't let you go in there. I'll check in a few minutes and see if maybe you can see him too. The shepherds just left, and I get to hang out here with him now. Oh, you must be a little confused who I'm talking about. Let me start back at the beginning. See, a couple days ago, it got really busy around here in the town of Bethlehem. Me and all my other sheep friends, we usually get to stay in a fold at night. A nice pen with a door on it, and the shepherds sleep nearby so that nothing can get us. Because, you know, we're sheep. We can't really fight if anybody attacks us. And usually we stay in that sheep pen all night long, and then we go out in the fields in the daytime to eat. But it's been so busy here in Bethlehem, they needed all the space they could get. Some people paid my master, the shepherd, a lot of money so they could park camels in our sheep pen, so we had to go out and stay out in the fields at night. The shepherd said that'd be fine. They'd go out there and hang out with us, and I was glad for that. I don't want to be by myself out on the side of the hills and walking around in those dark fields. There's coyotes and wolves and animals out there that I'm scared of. I'm scared of pretty much all animals because, well, I'm a sheep, and not even a big one. I'm a little one. I'm what you guys call a lamb. I really don't have a lot that I can do to defend myself. I just go wherever the rest of the sheep go, and we try to follow wherever the shepherd leads us. We were walking out of town this morning, getting ready to go out and leave our sheep pen so that the people with the camels could park their camels in there. And as we were walking out, we walked past one of my favorite places to walk past. It's the old inn on the edge of town. I love that inn because the man who owns the inn, he's always kind of friendly and he always smiles and waves as we go by. Today he wasn't looking very friendly though. He had a grumpy look on his face. And he was just running around, bustling and hustling and hustling and bustling, cleaning and yelling things to his servants. And he just kept saying, I'm out of room, I'm out of room. I felt bad for him. I thought maybe if he was out of room, he could come and stay in my sheep pen. Well, we kept on going out of town, and we went up on the fields that are right around Bethlehem. There's lots of paths that lead around into Bethlehem because Bethlehem is pretty close to Jerusalem. A lot of people, if they're coming to Jerusalem, they'll spend the night in Bethlehem first. And we were watching. There were lots of people traveling, way more than usual on these roads. There were people from what looked like all over, dressed in clothes that we don't normally see around here. They were eating foods we don't normally eat around here. And they had lots of animals with them. That was my favorite. Since I'm an animal, I like to watch the other animals too. Mainly people were on animals that they can walk with, that can carry things for them, or that they can ride on. There were camels. There weren't really a lot of horses. Horses are pretty much only for the Romans. Oh, you've heard of the Romans, right? Yeah, the Romans, I guess they're soldiers or something. I hear my masters, the shepherds, talking about them all the time. They talk about the Romans and they really don't care for them much. Sounds like the Romans are kind of mean. But anyhow, I didn't see any Romans or any horses. Lots of camels and then lots more donkeys. Lots of people riding donkeys or pulling donkeys along. There was a man even who was pulling a donkey and it had a person riding on it. I hadn't seen that before. Usually they just use the donkeys mainly to carry things, but I guess she was having trouble walking. She looked like, well, I don't know, like she was really tired. Like she just really wanted to sit down and rest. They actually did stop right as they came up to our field on the outskirts of Bethlehem, and they let the donkey eat a little grass. I guess they were getting ready to go down into the town to spend the night there, so they wanted to feed the donkey first. And while the donkey was eating, I kind of wandered over by him, and I introduced myself. I'm a friendly kind of sheep. And I said hi, and the donkey said hi, but he was mainly busy stuffing his mouth with grass, so he was kind of being rude. He would talk with his mouth full. I said, hi, how are you doing? Where are you from? And he said, Nazareth. And I said, oh, that sounds like a nice place. Is that nearby? And the donkey said, no, it's far. Oh, poor donkey, he sounded tired. And I said, have you been carrying that person on your back the whole way? And the donkey said, yes, and she's getting heavier every day. A poor donkey, he seemed like he was worn out. the lady looked nice. So I kind of smiled at them in my own sheepish way, and I went back to eating grass. As they went off down the hill, I heard the man who was pulling the donkey, he asked some of my masters, the shepherds, he asked, hey, is there a place that we can stay inside Bethlehem? And they kind of laughed and said, good luck, but if you want to sleep in the sheep pen, we'd be glad to charge you money for it. Well, he didn't look like he had any money to pay, so he went on down. We sat around, and as the day got to be evening, I started feeling a little nervous, because sheep, we don't like to be outside in evenings. I told you already, we're so helpless. All it takes is a coyote sneaking up on us, or sometimes there's a lion or a bear. Oh, it can be the scariest thing to be a sheep. And we really aren't good for much, it seems. I mean, I have heard the other sheep talking. They were kind of nervous because they saw all these people coming down the path, and one of the bigger sheep said to another sheep, he said, hey, you don't think it's Passover, do you? And I said, what's Passover? And they both looked at me like they knew something I didn't. And then one of them said, oh, you don't want to know about Passover. Passover's not a good time for us sheep. I said, why? What happens? They said, oh, there's something that these people do called a sacrifice. And they take, well, I don't want to scare you, little lamb, but they take little lambs and they sacrifice them on altars. I didn't know what he meant by sacrifice. The only thing I could think of was maybe they give them a bath. I said, oh, that doesn't sound too bad. And the other two sheep just started kind of laughing to each other and said, oh, well, you better hope you never get picked. Otherwise, you'll see it is kind of bad. And then they wouldn't tell me any more about it. That left me a little bit confused. It sounded like sacrifice was something that I could do. I could actually be useful. Oh, I wonder if I'll ever get to find out what a sacrifice is. Well, it got to be darker and darker, and it was getting kind of chilly too, so all of us sheep, we do what sheep do when we're cold. We just kind of all crowded into each other and crowded in and got our noses in towards the middle, and we feel kind of safer that way too. I was feeling pretty safe, but also I noticed that the shepherds were still talking about stuff, and I started thinking to myself, if I stay here with my head in the middle of this pile of sheep, I'll never be able to hear what the shepherds are saying. So I kind of backed my head out a little bit and turned around and I wedged myself in backwards into the pile just so I could stick my head out and hear what they had to say. And they were talking all right. The shepherds were talking. It sounded like they were almost having an argument. Well, or at least a big discussion. One of the shepherds was going on and on about how he's absolutely sure, after reading the book of Daniel again in the last few weeks and talking to some of the other shepherds about it, he's absolutely sure that the time is right. I didn't know what time he was talking about. I'm a sheep. I don't even have a watch. And then another shepherd said, well, I hope so, because then the Messiah will come and he'll free us from these Romans. And that was another word I'd never heard before. Not Romans. You guys heard me talk about Romans already. He said the Messiah. I didn't know what that meant, but it was making me curious. So I kind of left the sheep pile behind me and I snuck a little bit closer. I just kind of stood there looking like a sheep, just with one ear perked up so I could listen. And the first shepherd said, yeah, we definitely need that Messiah. Things have gotten really bad around here. And when that Messiah comes, he'll chase the Romans out of here. He'll set all of us free, and we'll be the nation of Israel ruling over all again. There were a lot of big words in there I didn't understand because I'm just a sheep. Maybe you understand them. But anyhow, then one of the other shepherds, he was kind of a younger guy, and he raised his hand, and it was like he was nervous, and he said, actually, I've been reading the book of Isaiah, and I think maybe, just maybe, you guys, this Messiah, when he comes, he's not going to be coming to fight and to kill Romans and stuff. I think maybe he's going to come to be a sacrifice. My ears perked up. I'd heard about a sacrifice earlier. Maybe I could finally find out what a sacrifice really was. So I snuck a little bit closer, and I kind of lay down behind a tall clump of grass, and I just poked my ear up over the side so I could listen. I was so curious now to see what was a sacrifice. Maybe I could be a sacrifice someday. I was so excited to find out. And one of the bigger shepherds, he laughed. Ha ha! Are you kidding? The Messiah be a sacrifice? Why would he want to do that? Why would he come down here just to be killed for people? Uh-oh. Sacrifice gets killed? I didn't like the sound of that. And then the younger shepherd who had spoken, he said, but in Isaiah it says that he comes down and that he's led like a lamb to the slaughter. You know, like the lambs are sacrificed. That made me really nervous. He was talking about lambs like me. Wait a minute. This Messiah was going to be a lamb? Was he going to be a lamb like one of us four-legged sheep with a woolly coat and eating grass all the time? I didn't see how that could work. In fact, I didn't see how any of this could work, because if they're talking about lambs being sacrificed, what good would that do? I'm just a lamb. If you take me and you lay me down on an altar and then you sacrifice me, what does that change? It doesn't change anything. I'm helpless. I can't even save myself. How can I save anybody else? But then I listened more, because the young shepherd was still talking, and he said something else. I think that what he's coming here to save us from is not the Romans at all. What? All the other shepherds said, and they started laughing and mocking him. What? Not save us from the Romans? Who else do you think he'd save us from? The Babylonians? But then the young shepherd said, well, it's just that I was also reading in the book of Genesis. Do you remember the book of Genesis? It says that, said the young shepherd, it says that God told Adam and Eve that there would be a Savior who would come, and he would save the people, and he would be the Redeemer. Well, there weren't any Romans back then, but they already needed saving. That got me really interested, because maybe this meant that I could still help. You know, if you need saving from the Romans, I don't think you want a little sheep to go out and try to fight the battles, right? Can a sheep fight a big battle against a bunch of Roman soldiers on horses? No. I can't, definitely. Not even 1,000 sheep. We couldn't take down one horse and one Roman. But maybe there was something else that people need saving from. I could try to help with that. So I listened to see what it was that people might need saving from, that a lamb could help with. And then the young shepherd said it. I think maybe what they need saving from isn't Romans, but from sin and from the temptations of Satan. Oh, my sheepy face got all sad again. Sin and Satan? I can't do that. I can't help anybody with that problem. I'm just a sheep. I eat grass all day. That was kind of depressing. I was about to go back to the flock and just stick my head back into the pile of sheep and get my ears all plugged up with their wool all around me, when one of the shepherds said something else. It wasn't the young shepherd. It was one of the older shepherds. He said, well, I guess that there might be that could be, because I guess if the Messiah is going to come and he needs to save people from the temptations of Satan, I mean, it could be. Only here's my question then, he said to the young shepherd. If the Messiah is coming to save people from sin, is he just coming to save the Jewish people from sin? And everybody kind of went, and they made thinking noises with their mouths. And then one of the other shepherds said, that can't be right. The Messiah is just for the Jewish people. He's just for the children of Israel. He's not going to help anybody else. And the young shepherd said, well, does everybody else sin, or just the Jewish people? And everybody got really quiet at that. I think that young shepherd had said something that was pretty smart. And I thought about it. Yeah, it seems like maybe everybody makes mistakes. I think every person I knew had made mistakes and been mean to things and yelled and had temper tantrums or cheated or lied or just not been friendly and kind. Yeah, every human I knew had been that way at some point or the other. So maybe the Messiah would be coming for everybody and not just the children of Israel. It gave my sheepy brain a headache to try to think about all this. So I just thought I would go back and stick my head in the cotton pile, in the wool pile. So I went back and I jammed my head into the pile of sheep. And I started falling asleep. It was so warm and comfy. And I was drifting off to sleep when all of a sudden the brightest light I'd ever seen was shining in my eyeballs. Now I thought for a moment that meant that I must have fallen asleep. Maybe I fell asleep and then it was sunshine now. And it was the bright sunlight shining in my eyes. But when I looked, it was dark everywhere behind me, but in front of me there was this bright, bright light, and it was like a thing floating in the sky. It was like a person in the sky, except they had like big light streamers coming off of them, and it almost looked like wings unfolding behind them. And they had the loudest voice I've ever heard, way louder than my master when he yells, "Get back here, sheep, and leave that plant alone." Whatever the glowing thing floating in the sky was, he was saying wonderful, amazing things. I couldn't even catch most of it, because I'm just a sheep. But there was something he said that made me just so excited. For he said, "Good news, great joy to all the people." Now I looked around and all my masters, all the shepherds were just like this, curled up on the ground. Ah! 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 They were scared. But the more that glowing thing talked, the more they relaxed and they started paying attention. And while they listened to him, and then to the big choir of angels that came and started singing, "Glory to God in the highest," I just stood there with my sheep mouth hanging open, because I had heard one phrase in there that was really important. Great joy to all the people. All the people. That was the answer to the argument that the shepherds were having. Some of the shepherds were saying that the Messiah was only going to help the Jewish people, but others of the shepherds were saying he was going to help everyone, to save everyone from sin. And that was the answer. That was what the angels had just said. It was for all the people. I got so excited I started running in circles. Have you ever seen a sheep run in circles? Especially a little lamb. We run and we kick up our hind legs and we change direction halfway. I was so excited. I couldn't believe it. It was really coming true. The Messiah was going to be here. And then the angel said things about how he had been born and he was wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger. And I just started running around and bumping my heads into other sheep. Hey, bump, wake up, you got to pay attention, bump. A lot of the other sheep were being lazy. They didn't even want to pay attention. They just kept burying their heads back into the wool pile and ignoring what was going on. But I kept bumping them. Come on, you got to listen. There's something wonderful happening. A Messiah is coming. And I think the shepherd said, he's going to be a sacrifice. He's going to be like a lamb too. This is so cool. The shepherds, sir, got excited. They got up and started kind of running around like they didn't know what to do. And then they said, come on, let's go down. We'll go down to Bethlehem and we'll go see the Messiah. And I felt bummed, because they're just going to go by themselves, aren't they? They're not going to take a little sheep like me along. But then the young shepherd said, we can't leave the lamb by itself. It'll wander off. Well, that's true. I probably would. I'm a lamb. I don't really pay attention very well. So he picked me up and he carried me with him. I was the only sheep that got to go. We went running on down the hill. Bumpity, bumpity, bump. I'd never been carried like this while we were running before. It was kind of fun and exciting. We got down there. We ran through the streets of Bethlehem. We ran right up to the inn. And one of the shepherds, he went and he pounded on the door. Pound, 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 pound. And I'll tell you, when the innkeeper came to the door, he wasn't any happier than he had been earlier that day. What do you want? I said I don't have any room. Oh, hi, shepherds. What do you need? You can't keep your sheep in here if that's what you're wondering. I have no space at all. And the shepherd said, well, there's a baby that's being born, and we need to see him. He's the Messiah. And I think the innkeeper, he was too sleepy to catch most of that, but he said something, a baby born? You must be talking about the lady that came in earlier with the donkey and stuff. They're in back. And the shepherd said, in back? What do you mean in back? He said, in the back, you know. And the young shepherd said, yeah, because the angel said he'd be lying in a manger. It must be in the stable. Let's go. And so we went running around the back of the inn to where they have a separate building that all the animals that come in with a traveler stay. And sure enough, I could smell the donkey that I'd met earlier that day. He was there inside the stable. They set me down on the ground. I went running up ahead, so excited. I peeked my head in through the door, and sure enough, there was the donkey. And there was the lady that had been on the back of the donkey. And the man that had been leading the donkey. The lady didn't look like she weighed as much as she did before. That's probably because she was holding something in her arms now. It was a baby. A human baby. He didn't look like a lamb, like a sheep at all. Except he kind of did, because he was just all wrapped up in a blanket. And like any little baby, he was helpless. He was just kind of making noises with his mouth. And he was just kind of shaking his hands and his feet and his arms and his legs. He was kind of helpless. And I thought, that's like me. I'm a lamb. I'm kind of helpless too. I can't do much. And that's just exactly what the angel said, that he was going to be a Messiah, just like a lamb. A lamb's a symbol of a Messiah. It suddenly made sense in my sheepy brain. That's why they had all those lamb sacrifices all those years for the Passover. Because the lambs were a symbol. They were a way to remind people, hey, when the Messiah comes, he'll be helpless like a lamb too. And what he's coming from is to save you from sin, not to just save you from the Romans. It all made sense to me now. I was so excited. The shepherds came running in right behind me. They came barging right in, and then they got really quiet. They said, oh, we're sorry. We just wanted to see the baby because the angel told us he'd be here. And the lady's eyes got really big. An angel? An angel talked to you too? That's wonderful. Yes, you may see the baby. Sure, come. He's sleeping. Just stay quiet. And they all knelt down around where the baby was. She laid him right down in the manger box where the animals eat out of. It was full of straw and hay. She laid him right there. It was like a little crib for him. And all the shepherds just bowed down, and they were praying and praising God and saying, "We have seen the Messiah, he has come." And then they all got up and they were so excited, they were ready to go. And I thought, why are they leaving so fast? But then I heard them say, "We must go and tell everybody. Why should anybody be asleep tonight? We'll go and pound on all the doors. We got to wake up everybody. The Messiah is here." They all started to rush out the door, and I wondered what was going to happen. I was kind of curious to see what they were going to do, but I was also really curious to just see this baby longer. But you know what the young shepherd did?
What?
He came back to the lady and he said, "Ma'am, lady, your baby, he's gonna do lots of things for us. He's gonna save us, and that's like a gift from God to me. So I want to give a gift to you too." And then he picked me up and he put me down in her lap and he said, "You can have my lamb. I get to stay with the baby. I'm so excited." So I get to live here now in the stable. And I'm glad that you guys have come to it. I'm going to check and see if the baby's awake. I hope you get to meet him too, okay?